Unicorns and glitter and taxidermy critters are just some of the things they like. They also enjoy 80s hair bands, Grizzly Adams and John Goodman, so if you think that's weird then you can take a hike. But the things they enjoy the most are making art and cracking jokes, so without further ado, here are your hosts. You've got your two artsy gals, your two artsy gals. Here are your two artsy gals.
Hey everybody, this is Katie.
And this is Sharon.
And this is the Two Artsy Gals podcast. This is part 2 in our summer series about selling your art. And we are going to talk about what you should know about copyright as it pertains to selling your art and selling your art online and protecting yourself while you're doing that. So
super. And I have a lot of questions probably. I mean, this is a topic that freaks me out.
It freaks me out too. And I'm going to just start off by saying I am not an expert. I'm not a copyright attorney. I know what I know because I went to graphic design school, and from the moment, I think with any college, you have like plagiarism. There are rules at colleges about plagiarism, and you learn about plagiarism, and that's a big fucking no-no. But also, we had to have a basic understanding of copyright as it pertains to like using images and your artwork. So really, what I know because I was in college, and it's brief, and what other research I've done when I've been like, hey, I wonder about this. But I do have a good general understanding of it, and I think that it's an issue that most people, are either scared by and completely overwhelmed by, because let's face it, it's not a simple issue.
No.
And the internet makes it a million times more complicated, which we'll get into, but it can be overwhelming, and I think also because the internet is, not everything on the internet has to be the truth.
Right.
So people do research and they might read something and it might not be factual. It might not be true. And also there are a lot of misnomers and, myths about copyright and copyright laws and fair use laws. So you really need to have a basic understanding of these things if you're going to be selling your artwork.
Yeah.
Especially, and I kind of have broken this down into sections. So I want to first talk about copyright within the context of your own work and not committing a copyright infringement on another artist accidentally, because I have a lot of friends who sell collage sheets online or who buy collage sheets online to make their art. And I cannot tell you, and I know that you probably have seen this too, at numerous craft fairs and art sales, people using licensed images on their artwork that they could really get into a lot of fucking trouble for using.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, because isn't it like you can, if you buy one of those collage art sheets, you can cut that picture out and glue it onto your image and then give credit on the back. Like if you're making a greeting card, you can give credit, or you can sell so many of those, but you couldn't make the collage and then photocopy that over and over again, right?
Well, it depends. And what I have to say about that is when you buy collage sheets, read the fine print. Because most artists on their collage sheet pages, most people who create and sell collage sheets will have a terms of use. So some of them will say, hey, you can use this and do whatever the fuck you want with it. I don't care. Some people will say, you can use this in your own artwork privately as much as you want, but do not sell images of my artwork, period,
right,
for any reason. Some people will say, like you said, you can use this and make a certain amount of them with this image, but no more than that. Or you can use this and sell this, but you have to give me credit for the image somewhere on your artwork. And that's the confusing thing about it.
Right.
No two people do it the same way. So read, and when in doubt, even every fucking website that you buy digital collage sheets from, or printable collage sheets, or you order them from, has a contact me button.
Yes. And some of them will even say, I used to buy, sadly they've closed, but Art Chicks, she sells tons of collage. She did sheets, and her base, I mean, she had that posted all over how you could use her collage sheets. So I always knew when I was putting the images in my jewelry or on my cards, okay.
Yeah.
I knew I was usually safe with her because I was following the guidelines.
And most artists are very specific and do make it known what you can and can't do with their work. Almost all of them. And again, email them and ask if you don't know. If you can't find
if it's confusing.
Yeah. Say, hey, can I do this?
Right.
Or
because,
I want to do this.
I know a lot of stamps. Like, you can't stamp an image onto a card and then photocopy that card a whole bunch of times. It has to be stamped originally. Every card.
I did not know that.
So they don't want you to stamp something and then photocopy it over and over.
So, like, if you're using a Stampin' It Up stamp, you can make cards and sell them as long as you've stamped each individual, but you cannot photocopy it and make a card. Then it becomes an issue with copyright with them.
Correct.
See, you need to educate yourself, and this is the biggest takeaway that this episode is going to have.
Yeah.
Educate yourself, because unfortunately, especially when it comes to legal things, ignorance is not an excuse.
And it's not bliss.
No, just because you didn't know doesn't mean that you're the judge. A judge is going to go, oh, well, that's okay, you didn't know. They're going to go, dumbass, you should have made yourself aware of this.
Right.
Sorry.
And some images I honestly just end up not using because I make these little windowed, like glass windowed collage pendants. So I like 2 pieces of glass and there'll be an image in between and I solder around them. You know, most of the craft papers and stuff you're safe with because you're cutting out that image, you're putting it in there. They're fine with that. But, you know, the people that sell the collage pages, some of them make those collage pages specifically for that kind of jewelry. They're in a circle. They're in the 1-inch squares and, you can use this image 50 times or whatever. But yeah, some of them were so complicated that I was like, well, I'm just not going to use that image.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not worth it.
No, it's not. Because they have so many rules on it.
Yeah.
So even for a while when I was doing stamp work, I didn't buy from a specific stamp company because the rules were so strict that I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even sell their cards.
No,
if I
why
get
jump through
cards.
those hoops like that? Like,
yeah, I didn't want to.
And that's where I come into, like, I think I've mentioned this before. I'm so paranoid about it that when I make anything that I'm selling, I really just try to use my own artwork and my own photography. And because really, when it comes down to it, even in a magazine, if you cut out a picture in a magazine and use it in a collage that you're going to sell, you don't own that picture from that magazine.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
There is a photographer who works for that magazine, and either the magazine or the photographer own the rights to that image. And, you know, I think people would argue with that, but that's the way it is. Like, you could technically get in trouble for that. And any image that's a licensed image, you know, you run into a lot of, at craft fairs and stuff, I see a lot of Frida images, and a lot of, like, people do a lot of Marilyn Monroe stuff, and a lot of Edgar Allan Poe stuff, and a lot of, there's a popular vein of, like, you know, people like make those little glass pendants, or they make little bracelets or charms or journals or anything. You don't own those images. Some of those are licensed images, and you can't just take a picture off the internet and print it.
Right.
Now, if you're doing that in your own work, who's going to fucking know? It doesn't really matter. Like, if you're doing your own art journal that you're not going to post pictures of, or if you credit the artist when you do post pictures of it, it's fine. Yeah. But if you're making something that you plan on selling, you cannot do that.
Right.
You know, you just can't. And it's, like I said, ask. If you don't know if you can use an image, ask. No one's going to be mad at you. No artist is going to be mad at you for asking.
Right.
If you can use their image, you know? Yeah. So, and speaking of images and protecting your work, like, and the internet playing into this, it makes it, when posting pictures of our own artwork, This is something that you need to be aware of, because people do think that because it's on the internet, it's free and they're allowed to use it.
Right.
So you
put a watermark
yourself in
on
danger.
it.
Yes, watermarks for sure. And I need to be better about watermarking my images, because I don't always do that on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
Like on my Facebook art page. But you do watermark your images on my blog and on all of my blogs. I have a terms of service and terms of use that always very clearly state that I own the rights to all the images on my blog unless otherwise stated, unless I've credited them to someone else. And people do not have permission to use images of my artwork for any reason, ever. I don't want someone making money off of my artwork.
Yeah.
So, and you need to do that on your own blog. If you, on your own blog or website, if you're posting pictures of your work, you need to have a terms of use and terms of service page stating that. Now, not everybody reads that shit. I don't think that everyone that comes to my blog reads my terms of service page.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I would be pretty naive to think that a quarter of the people actually read that shit.
Right.
However, that statement is there for them to read. And because it's there for them to read, there's no doubt about what you want, what your intentions are. So if later you have to say, hey, you're using a picture of my artwork, take it off your fucking blog now.
Right.
You can say, did you read my terms of use? You know, it's no guarantee, because again, the internet kind of creates a vulnerability for artists that wasn't there 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it's so, like, if you have to use social media and you have to use the internet to get out there and to reach people. That is a fact of our lives now. You know, I mean, I guess you don't have to technically, but you're going to get a much bigger market for your work, and you're going to reach far more people. It's a wonderful tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it also puts you at risk. So doing everything that you can do, like watermarking, like you said, watermarking your images, having a terms of service and a terms of use on your blog to say, hey, I don't want you to do this. Or if you're creating and selling collage sheets, make it easy for people. Make it easy so people, you don't want to make it hard for someone to know what you want them to do with your images.
Yeah.
Because that just leaves you vulnerable and open to copyright infringement and violation. So, and another thing that I do when I sell my original artwork, with every sale, I give the customer a statement of value. Mostly that is for insurance purposes, for them to put the piece of artwork on their insurance policy. Or if they had a theft or a house fire, they would be able to recoup the value of the images. And you can find, like, I got most of the verbiage from mine. You can just search statements of value, and you can find an example one online and kind of tweak it to say what you needed to say. But one of the things that I say in my statement of value is that purchasing a piece of my artwork does not give you rights to the image. You purchasing a piece of my artwork does not mean that that person can take pictures of it and post them on the internet. Like, I don't care if someone says, hey, on their Facebook page, look what I bought today. This is awesome. But they cannot profit from an image of my work.
Right.
They cannot publish an image of my work in anything. And I make it clear that I retain the right to publish images of that piece of artwork, even though they own the original piece of artwork.
Right.
And I always put that in the statement of value.
Wow. Yeah.
Because it protects you. And again, you need to make it easy for people to understand what the rules are about it, because unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand it.
Right.
And a lot of people who are not artists don't get it.
No, they don't.
They think, well, why can't I use that? Why can't I do that? Well, because you're taking food off of my table, basically.
Right.
You know, so, but those are the big ways that you can protect yourself. And another thing that you really need to know and understand is that with the internet come an additional set of issues that we didn't really have to worry about that much before, unless you're like a published author or your work had been published in books, is international copyright laws.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have some pretty great copyright laws in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, once you have finished a piece of artwork or a piece of writing or a song, copyright's implied. You have copyright on that. It is automatically, once it is a complete piece of work, you own that. You have copyright on that. You don't even have to file for an official and pay for an official copyright.
Mm-hmm.
That image is yours.
Right.
Period. Now, when it comes to international law, that's not always the case.
Yeah.
And we cannot say someone, I'm trying to think of a country that has known issues with stuff like that. And I'd really have to say, like, really, probably a lot of, I want to say, like, maybe Korea or China, or, well, maybe not even China. I don't know. But there are a lot of Arabic nations. I'm trying to think of one specifically, and I can't really think of it. But even a lot of Eastern European countries, they all have different copyright laws.
Mm-hmm.
And our copyright laws do not apply in their country.
Mm-hmm.
And we cannot enforce our copyright laws in their country. Now, there's a group of countries that belong to a specific treaty that I can't think of the name of, but I have a really great article about that and a link that I'm going to post about it, because I don't want to overwhelm everybody with, like, because it's such a weighty issue. I don't want to overwhelm people with details, but I have several links about international copyright law and internet copyright law and stuff that I'm going to put up for everybody so they can do a little bit more research on their own time. But just know that if someone from another country is using your image, it's illegal. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's illegal in the United States, but unless you have a lot of money and can pursue it legally and spend years and years in a court battle trying to enforce United States copyright law in a country who says, fuck you, United States, I don't care what your law says, you're screwed.
Yeah. Didn't this happen? This happened recently to somebody that we both know, right?
Well,
in France. They took,
Brazil.
or was it Brazil?
Brazil, yeah. Our friend Alicia.
That they took took images of hers and were selling them in a boutique.
Selling artwork with her images in a boutique, yes. And
they basically just said, sorry.
Well, actually, what ended up happening with that, and this is something that I want to point out, because most people, like I said, most people do not understand that they're doing something illegal when they do that.
Right.
Some people understand that, but think, well, I'll just see how long I can get away with it. But 90% of the cases that I've heard, because this has actually happened to Alicia a couple of times, and it's all one of the same images. That bird cage, the rib cage with the bird inside of it, is a really popular image, and people use that a lot. So what has happened in almost every case that she has been faced with this, she has contacted the person, they have apologized and either offered to pay her to continue to use it or taken it down immediately. So luckily, most people are not assholes about stuff like that. And most people don't want litigation.
Right.
Like, they don't want to be sued. And again, a lot of people just don't understand that they can't do that. And when you contact someone and say, you know, basically give them a cease and desist, they will stop using your image.
Right.
And something that helps with that actually is if you use the Firefox, what am I, fucking 80?
The interwebs?
Oh my god, on the interwebs. If you use the Firefox on the interwebs. No, Firefox has those applications that you can use. And there's one app in their application store that's called Who Stole My Pictures? And it's really neat. You can go to one of your images, like, you should do you use Firefox, or do you use Safari probably because you're on Mac, huh? But, I have all of them, mostly because I do graphic design stuff and I need to see what it's going to look like on all different browsers. But you can use that application, and then when you right click on an image of yours, the little menu that pops up will say there's an option that says Who Stole My Pictures, and if you click that, it will do a Google search, and it does, I think, 4 different search engines to see if someone has used your image that is not
Wow.
supposed to be using it. It's pretty cool.
That's
But
awesome.
I actually know a couple of people who have found someone who's been using their images by using that thing. And
Wow.
you can also find out who an image belongs to that way.
Uh-huh.
Because if you see stuff, like I've done that a couple times when I've seen stuff on a website where maybe they shouldn't be posting this person's work, but I want to know what artist did that.
Uh-huh.
I'll use Who Stole My Pictures to track down the artist
Oh,
who
interesting.
did the original work. But it's pretty helpful. I mean, it's not foolproof, but I do believe that Alicia actually found someone with that, or maybe it was another one of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, my point is, like, you're using the internet. It's a tool. It's a great tool. Like it opens our possibilities endlessly, but there is a risk to it. And you need to know as much as you can to protect yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I think, and just yeah, being aware. And if you don't know, just like you said, call the artist,
Well,
figure out
that's like I said, people aren't gonna, like, an artist isn't gonna be mad at you for just verifying yay or nay as far as, like, can I use this image? Or, maybe say your terms of use are a little bit confusing and I just wanted to double check and make sure that I could use this image before I do, or, make sure how I can use this image before I use it.
Yeah.
So it's just best to do that. And again, it's always best to make sure that you are very clear on your work.
Yes.
And I saw something when we were in Seattle here a couple weeks ago. Sharon and I got to hang out because my husband and I went up to Washington, so we met Sharon. But we were in Pike Place Market, and I was so impressed with this guy. He took some amazing photographs, and he had his little, how they have the little art market on the end there, just outside of, he had his photographs up, and there was a guy who I thought, what a cheeky fucker, first of all. He was using his big fancy camera to take pictures of the guy's images. And the guy said, hey, he stepped in front of the camera, he goes, don't take pictures of my work, please. He said, you can take as many pictures of me as you want. I'm a total ham. But these are my copyrighted images. Don't take pictures of my work, please.
Good for him.
And the guy was kind of a prick about it, but I was like, good for you, dude. Good for you.
Yeah.
I shook his hand. I'm like, I'm so glad that he felt like he could do that. Because I think when you're selling your artwork, you are I don't know about you, but I always feel vulnerable to rejection. Like,
right.
I want people to like me. I want people to like my work. And I would have no problem telling someone, don't take pictures of my artwork. But
right.
I think a lot of people do. A lot of people feel uncomfortable making boundaries for themselves like that.
Totally, because then that person can think, well, maybe he's not going to buy my stuff. But it's like, he's not going to buy your stuff. He's taking pictures of your stuff.
Yeah, he's taking a picture of your stuff so he can take it home and look at it
and
not own it. And that's a crock of shit.
Yeah.
And that's something that, there are a lot of things like that I have become more and more aware of over the years as I have become more and more public with my art.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I have probably taken 20 years ago, I did when you're following the Grateful Dead around, people are selling all kinds of crazy art stuff. I am positive that in a shoebox in my garage, I have tons of pictures that are probably of other people's artwork.
Uh-huh.
That I really probably shouldn't have taken.
Right, yeah.
And the internet makes it worse now because everybody has digital photographs. I mean, like, yes, I have an image of someone's artwork that I probably shouldn't have taken, that I took at the fucking country fair or something. Right. But it's in a shoebox in my garage.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to sell that picture. It's in my garage. I shouldn't have taken it. However, now people can just post it on the internet.
Sure, totally.
And if you should always, if you're posting links, to things or pictures of things, even on Facebook, if you're like, hey, this is a really cool piece of artwork, you need to credit the artist.
Yeah, absolutely.
And link to their pages, link to their website, link to wherever you got that from, but always credit the artist because that will keep you getting into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or keep you from getting into trouble.
Yeah.
But, And just briefly, because and I'm going to do a little bit of our research, because there was an article about copyright myths that I remember reading a few years ago when I wrote about this on my blog. There are some things that people just assume are true that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as far as fair use goes, don't use people's images. Like, it's such a gray area.
Right.
It's a huge gray area. Like, don't use it. Don't use it, even if you think it's fair use. Like, if I alter it such and such %, it's not copyright infringement. A, that's usually not true.
Right.
And B, why do you want to use somebody else's image? You know, I mean, use your own, be original. And this, because it's really, like I said, it's a huge gray area, and it doesn't mean what people think it means.
Right.
I'm going to find that article and post a link about that too, because there are a few other things, like, you know, what is it? If a written work is over a certain amount of years old, then it becomes public domain. And that's partially true, but you need to know the law.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and as far as a lot of artists use, like, cabinet cards and stuff like that. Now, if you buy a cabinet card at a garage sale, that's yours. That's over 100 fucking years old. The person who took that picture is not alive anymore.
Right.
You can do what you want with it. You can even, I have friends who buy them and sell collage sheets. They scan them and make collage sheets of those. Now, because that person bought that at a garage sale or online, they own that image. Because they have now produced something with that image.
Right.
You can't use it anymore like that. You have to know what their terms of use are.
Right.
So it's a real foggy area.
Yeah,
and you
absolutely.
always need to make sure the biggest, like when we started, I said the biggest takeaway on this is going to be educating yourself.
Yeah.
And if you have even an inkling that maybe you should find out something about it, do. And, you know, copyright wasn't something that I really thought about when I was a younger woman and just doing art, like, you know, for a hobby or for gifts for people. And I think I became aware of copyright issues and copyright laws when the rest of the world did with the downfall of Napster. And once I started college and I went to a creative school, you know, an art school, I learned more and more about it. And now that I am an artist who tries to make a living selling my artwork, and I have many, many friends who are artists who do make livings selling their artwork, it's something that I kind of live and breathe every day.
Yeah.
And I feel like we need to just address really how copyright applies to our everyday lives and things like downloading music and books and movies. Because I don't do it anymore. I will admit, when I had back in the fucking day, when Napster was in all its glory, and I had dial-up fucking internet, and I would queue up 100 songs and go to bed and hope that 10 would be downloaded in the morning. You know, and you had to work hard for that shit then.
Yeah.
But I would say a good portion of my music collection probably came from Napster. Once upon a time, before there were clear laws.
Yeah.
Defining, you know, copyright about this kind of stuff. And before the rest of the world knew about it. Like, I'm not going to name names because this is someone close to me. Maybe a relative, maybe not. But I know someone who downloaded a porn version of that. What's the movie with the blue alien people? I'm doing a weird dance, and they didn't do a dance, so I don't know why I'm doing a dance. What is that movie? God damn, it was awesome.
Oh, God.
You know what I'm talking about, though.
I do. What is it called?
People are screaming this right now.
They are.
Listening to this.
I'm looking it up. Right. Avatar!
Avatar. So he bought this, it's a boy, bought the porn version of Avatar. And it was a Larry Flint production. And his cable company, now he did this on his parents' internet connection. Long story short, Larry Flint was not happy about that. And his parents ended up paying over $1,000 fine. And he never even got to watch the fucking dirty movie either, because he got caught too soon. So,
My
like,
God.
but I mean, that can happen. You know,
Yeah.
and this is something that I kind of argue with my husband about a lot. And I don't think he downloads shit really anymore, but I don't download music anymore. I buy it. I pay for it because you know what? It doesn't fucking matter if I'm downloading a song by Pink, who is a multimillionaire, or by some fucking little local band who plays on the weekends and are baristas during the day.
Right.
That person and that band owns that music, and it doesn't matter if they're a wealthy person who's been a success still deserves the right to their work.
Right. Absolutely.
Like, people have this attitude like, well, so fucking what? They make a ton of money.
Right.
Why the fuck shouldn't I get something for free? Well, because you shouldn't get something for fucking free, asshole.
Right. You should still support that artist. If
Yeah.
you like that person, then support them.
Exactly. If you like them, support them. Show them. So, you know what? Yay for musical artists and visual artists and writing artists who are able to make a living doing what they love.
Absolutely.
It's our dream to do that. Everybody's dream to do that. You know, downloading books illegally. Don't fucking do that.
Right.
Buy the fucking book. Like, seriously, I just bought, like, I had to beef up my workout playlist because I was getting bored the other day. I spent like $8 on 4 or 5 songs.
Right.
Like, you know, just pay for them. And downloading movies, don't fucking do it. Also, if you're downloading stolen shit, you deserve the fucking virus you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. Just, you know, I never gave it a thought before.
Mm-hmm.
But again, now that it applies to my life and my profession and my livelihood,
Yeah.
I kind of relate now. And I can relate. And you shouldn't be, it is stealing.
Mm-hmm.
It's theft.
It is.
And you shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
So, and again, it puts you at risk for having your parents find out you were buying illegal porn if you're underage. Or, you know, I mean, it's just, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
There.
That's the takeaway.
I'm off
Don't
my
do
soap.
it.
Don't do it. I'm off my soapbox now. But I don't know. I argue with a lot of people about this now because I was the queen of downloading music like once upon a time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it anymore, and I don't share it anymore.
Right.
Like, don't share it. Like, that's the worst part, is sharing it
Yeah.
and spreading it around. So, you know, just don't do it. Do you feel like I covered this okay, just in a basic way? Because I don't want to be overwhelming, but I want the basic questions to be answered.
I think so, yeah. Just, you know, educate yourself. That's the take home. If you don't know, ask.
And protect yourself as much as you can.
And protect yourself. Yeah, absolutely.
And if I have missed something, or you have any of the listeners have any more questions about this episode, feel free to email us with any questions at 2artsygals@gmail.com, and we'll answer them. We'll read your email on our show. Did you have any more questions?
I don't think so.
Okay. I want to remind everybody about our call to artists for artist trading card pictures for an upcoming episode we're going to do about artist trading cards. You can photograph those and send them to us at our email address. That address again is 2artsygals@gmail.com. And we will talk about your awesome art and your awesome self and post pictures of your work on our blog. So go ahead and send us that. And speaking of blog, I will have links to some really good articles about copyright for this episode in the show notes. So make sure you go over and check that out if you have any more questions, and it'll have a lot of resources for you to research this kind of stuff on your own and have a deeper understanding. That is 2artsygals.wordpress.com. So go over and have a look there. And let me see. Also, you can subscribe to our podcast on Stitcher. So you can go over there and use that app and listen to our podcast all the time, and it'll automatically download when we have a new episode up. And you can also do the same on iTunes. So you can go over there and subscribe if you use an Apple device and you would rather listen to us through that. And in both cases, leave us awesome feedback because that'll bump us up in the ratings, and let us know you're listening.
Bye.
All right. Well, until next time, you guys should go make some cool art and shit. And we'll talk to you then. Bye.
All right.
Bye.